Hi, my name's Nigel, and I am the singer and songwriter of the indie funk Plymouth-based band The Curve. I thought I'd say that. I haven't said that for a while, and I thought I would do that on my New Year's special. I don't know why I laugh whenever I say these things. I did a Christmas special, and now I'm doing a New Year's special, and don't really know why. It feels like a traditional right thing to do. I've also put some lights up here to see whether I'm a little bit lighter. I try all these things. I have the different sound system now, lights. Ever since I did the BBC interview, which you may or may not know about yet, but I did a little BBC interview, and one of the questions I was asked, it always makes me smile. Really lovely young woman asked me lots of really interesting questions, and we had a little chat for quite a while. They edited some of that, but she said to me, "Let's talk about technology. How do you do this? Have you set up a podcast studio in your house?" And I said, no. I was a bit awkward and embarrassed. And I said, no, I just do it on my phone. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have the money to sort of set up a podcasting studio? So I'm here in my sort of the back room of our house here, which kind of doubles up as where I play music. And this is where I am. Those of you who followed me. And, I've slowly evolved from having the phone to now I have a sort of a little recording studio that you carry around with you. I think that's what they advertise it as. And now I've got lights. It's kind of, I don't know. It's quite blinding actually, but it's very gloomy today. I'm obviously doing this a little bit in advance of actually doing it on the day that this comes out, which I guess would probably be. Oh, now I'm getting really confused. Which is easy for me. I think it'd be the third of January. But it is absolutely chucking it down today, and it's really dark. So yeah, so I'm sort of here with the lights, and Happy New Year. I guess New Year's a funny time, isn't it? I don't know. Do people go out? People do go out. I suppose I'm asking you, but at the moment it isn't the culture of my podcast necessarily for people to chat to me that much on it, which is a little bit of a shame. But I'm hoping that maybe at some point people will say hello a little bit more. I've had one or two comments, but not many. Yeah, I kind of. Some New Year's Eve stick out for me really, and one particular one going to Brighton, and yeah, having an argument and then sort of deciding we weren't going to stay and driving home when New Year was sort of happening. That was a very long time ago. I'm sort of going back about sort of 40 years, I guess. Going to one in Corsand in Cornwall, which I had never really knew was such a place for New Year, but it had been on. I think Radio 1 had done a thing about 5 best places to go for New Year, and Corsan was in it. And it's a little coastal town in Cornwall, and yeah, it was fantastic, and everybody was dressed up in fancy dress, and it was a really, really big, great fun evening. And yeah, then I guess when I was in my sort of 20s, maybe into early 30s, but definitely in my 20s, I used to go into town, go to Plymouth, been up to London, been up to Trafalgar Square, all sorts of things you do, don't you, really, for New Year. I remember one very, very drunken New Year in Plymouth, but we'll not talk about that, other than the fact that I got very drunk, and that was a long time ago when I was a young man. I then evolved into this place of feeling that, well, we don't tend to go out, but I like to stay up, and then for a while stay up on my own, and then eventually everybody decided to stay up with me these days. So whenever my sons are here, one of them will probably go out, the other one tends, maybe doesn't, and then whoever's here will stay up with me these days. My wife will stay up with me, and. Yeah, I years of watching Jules Holland's Hogmanay, and then deciding that was too repetitious and not so exciting to do. Yeah, get me living in rock and roll life again, staying up till midnight and watching the TV. It's fantastic. And nowadays, maybe we play some board games or we do some stuff. I don't know. It's interesting to think about what we do, but it's a new year. It's a strange time. I think there's a pressure. There are certain times and moments in life, and I think some of us have this pressure anyway, and I think it's why, mental health is so difficult these days. It's kind of, there's this pressure sold to us in media, on films, in series that People have lots and lots of friends and do lots of things and go out all the time. And of course, there are people that do those things and have those things. But not everybody does. And the secret is it's okay. It's okay not to. It's okay to be a person with a few really, really good close friends that you see from time to time. It's okay to be a person that's okay in your own company. It's okay to not need to go out. It's okay not to feel like you're having some great big party. Um, and all of these things are okay and all right. They really are. And yeah, it's fine. But it is a funny time. Christmas is a funny time. You know, I talked a lot about Christmas, I think, in the Christmas special. Why would I not, really? And did you notice I wrote you a little Christmas song, which wasn't a Christmas song. Not sure what I'm going to do for New Year, and maybe I need to do a New Year's song. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure. Um, I don't know, what do you do in New Year? You kind of look back, look forward, don't you, really? It's been a mixed year. I mean, mostly, I'm so excited to have got this started. And although I still have my ups and downs with it, you know, at the moment I have a lot of doubts, and the doubts really come from the fact that I've struggled to get my next lot of people to talk to. I got two young bands who are really keen to talk, but every time we try and arrange it, something happens. And with one of them, they've kept being unwell, and with the others, they've just been so busy. And I'm pleased for them. I want them to be busy, you know. But hopefully, in the new year, we can pin those down. I've then got another person who seems to be very evasive, and I think sometimes what that means is somebody's just not too keen to do it. I'm really fine with that. I just wish people would say, really. I've emailed somebody else who I was given their email address, and they haven't got back yet, and which is fine. I don't know why. I then messaged a charity who work with young people, trying to help their creativity, and I've sent them two messages now, and they haven't got back. I think people are a bit thrown when someone talks about running a podcast and whether you could chat to somebody, really. I had that with not a venue, a festival. There's a local festival down here that they're really into original music, and in their adverts they say, please, if you're a covers band, with respect, we don't want to hear from you. We want to hear only from originals bands. And I love that. And so I contacted them to say, look, I'd love to interview one of you on the board on my podcast. And somebody got back and said, oh, yeah, we're not sure we want people to know we're around so much because we get inundated. And I kind of get that. But I said, look, and they said they'd pass it on to somebody. And I think there was a little awkwardness in that because we'd applied to play for it, and then I saw this stuff. I thought, oh, this is great, and I don't know. I think maybe they thought I was doing it to try and, I don't know, curry favour to get sort of my band on the thing. And I'm a lot of things, but I generally don't do things like that. I just got really interested. So I got back and I said, oh, a bit later, because she did say she'd pass it on to someone on the board, but nobody got in touch with me. So I wrote again, and I said, oh, I wondered if anything come from this. And I was thinking, I could always interview you out a season. I could do it when the festival's over next year. But nobody got back. So it's a shame, but these things are around. I've got a couple of plan Bs. But as where I am now, we're a few days away from Christmas, and it's really not possible to do all these things in this way. So it's fair doozies, and I'm absolutely fine with the idea of just waiting. But so podcasts has happened, but I'm a little bit anxious about moving forward. But I'm fine, And as you know, I'm a few months ahead of myself. So if I'm still in this place in March, then I'm going to be worrying. But just at the moment, I think I'm okay. It's been difficult at times trying to get traction with the music. We've played a couple of really awful gigs in which there's not been many people there, and they've really got me down. Played a couple of great gigs. We played an amazing gig in Torquay that was rammed, and then afterwards really struggled to get another gig there, even though there were probably 150 people there, and young people all really into it, really dancing and that. But the message I've been given is that the venue wants to change what they're doing, and they want to have more covers bands and bands that will bring them people in and all this sort of stuff, which I kind of get, and also it's summing up of what we talk about here in a sense, really, that for venues I know it's really hard, but I felt when we'd actually achieved something pretty good there, it felt a bit frustrating to then be told that we couldn't do it really again. I was gutted about that at the time, actually, because it's a great place to play and the sound is good, and yeah, I played a couple of times there. But anyway, I wish them well. It was a good venue, and I never like to fall out with venues or places because got to see. Place in Plymouth who offered me a last minute gig and we couldn't do it, which is a bit of a shame. Hoping, because sometimes that's enough for some venues, we then think, oh, well, these people aren't that enthusiastic. Whereas in actual fact, we just couldn't do it, really. But you never know. You never know. I hope it was okay. Um, so ups and downs, but towards the end of the year, we were looking for a drummer. We found a drummer. I don't think I've said that on this yet, unless I said it in the Christmas one. I can't really remember. I did it a few days ago, but I can't remember already. But certainly in the podcast, because I'm so ahead of myself, I forget that I'm not contemporaneous. So you may well not know that I have. Uh, we have a new drummer, and it was really hard to find one. It was probably 4 months of me trying, but then all of a sudden we had two, and tried them both out, and you know they were both good drummers, different ways. But Tim, who's joined us now, he prepped, and he knew the songs. And then we jammed on other songs that he didn't know, and he kind of really worked well with them. And we just thought, wow. And his drumming is really good. And I think Gray felt, our drummer, who's now a percussionist, he's like a kid in a candy store because he's now got this ability to just join things in the way that he wants. I'm doing this because he's playing his congas and stuff, and he's it looks like he's really enjoying it. He's got another geeky drummer to talk to. I mean, drummers, look, if you want to just feel like you've got more in a band than these bloody guitarists, just have another percussionist in the band. It's fantastic, it would seem. He's really happy. So I'd recommend that. But I think Tim is a really good drummer. It's bringing us up again with having the two of them there. And just as we speak, we're having a little quiet period. I try to take December and January to work on new material. I went over to John's last week and we're working on some new stuff and it's going really well. So I think, creatively that's good. Looking forward to the new year, what would I like? What would I like to happen? I would like to do what maybe everybody wants to do with their music, is just to be slightly more established. No, maybe people want a lot more than that. I don't want a lot more than that. I'd like to think I could play some gigs where routinely we had a group of people that came along. I think one of the ways you need to do that down here is I need to try to focus on getting a few more gigs in Plymouth. We have gigs this year at the Bee Bar, Cafe Momus, and I'm trying to set up a gig from this, which I'll talk about in a minute, which would also be in Plymouth. But I need a couple more because there are some people in Plymouth who say, "Oh, why don't they play more often in Plymouth?" And I think I might have talked about this before. Who knows? But I think if you live in a city like Manchester or London, then it's a lot easier to have lots of places to play in the same city. Whereas if you're down in the southwest, you've got a few in Plymouth, but then you might go to Exeter, you might go to Tavistock. We go around Cornwall. All sorts of places, and what that means is there are places to play, but not really places that mean we're in the same place developing an audience, if you see what I mean. So each place we go to, well, maybe we have people who are local to that might come along that we know, but other than that, you're really relying on people coming along. And then, of course, you didn't play there again. We played in Launceston. We're not going to play in Launceston again for another 6 months. So if there was one person that thought, oh, I like them, I might go and see them again, they're unlikely to do that in Launceston because they'll have forgotten us, really. That's the way it goes. So I'm looking for a little bit more recognition, more gigs, and that's happening actually. I went from a place of I was getting a little bit down in November. I didn't have anything, and then all of a sudden, and we played a gig in Tavistock, which went pretty well actually at the Union Inn. Didn't think it was going to when we got there, but actually people really appreciated it. We sounded really good. Second gig with Tim, but really the first really good gig we did together. I think the other one was a little bit goosey loosey. But this one, we were really tight, and it was really good energy. People wanted more from us afterwards, and from it, the guy who was promoting that has offered us 3 other gigs. So that's really filled the calendar up, alongside the other things I was arranging. The one thing that's missing is festival gigs at the moment, and I applied for about 22 of them. I don't expect to get any of them. There's a small one in Plymouth I'm hoping to get called Freedom Festival, but I don't know. I need to do something about that because I know one of the guys who organises it, but I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to get them. I've contacted somebody about us doing a support slot for a bigger band down in Cornwall, but that's in February. I heard nothing back, so we did. I heard back, but just saying, look, we'll pass it on to the artists in question, but don't contact us again, type of thing. They must get inundated, I guess. Um, so yeah, more of that. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I talked about doing an event through this, and I don't know whether I've talked about this before, but planning to run a music event, which if it pans out, I want to try and do it regularly, maybe every 4 months, every 5 months, 6 months, called Songs Nobody Asked Us For. And I've got, Craig, who was on this a couple of weeks back, and a guy called Rob C, who's on this in the new year. They're going to do that gig with us. So I've been looking at a place called the Roundabout in Plymouth to do that from. Excited about that, and that's the first one. Trying to blag the room for free, and we'll see where it goes. Cat Rose, who I'm interviewing, or I've interviewed, and it will be on in March. She's agreed to do another one. One of the bands I'm hoping to interview, the Ragdolls, are very keen to do another one. So I've got people ahead of us who might be keen to be involved in doing something like that with us, which is really exciting. And I'd love to get a couple of those off the ground each year, and really do them as a come and see original music. That's my plan. Try and get some of the local radios involved in helping me do it. It's a big plan in my head. If it comes off, it'll be amazing, but we will see. So yeah, onwards and upwards, really. Aside of that, obviously, looking for good things for my family and my children and my partner and all of these things, really. And to all of you, I really just want to thank you for any of you that have started to follow me this year. It's been an up and down journey in figures and seeing people coming and going, and that's all fine, but I'm still here and soldiering on, and looking forward to what the new year might bring with this, really. So I will be back next week with a normal processed episode, so I won't even know I've done this when I'm doing that one, because that was done a couple of months ago. And Happy New Year. Do follow and like the band, hashtag Music the Curve. Follow and like this as well. Subscribe, press like on the YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube, because it means a lot to me. And I'll see you out there in 2026.